In this video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. So close to breaking key resistance. That insanely challenging 50 EMA, the blue line you see on your screen right now, has proven extremely challenging to Bitcoin all year through this bear market. It is the key indicator to watch. We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to look at what are the possibilities of a break up or break down and what is more likely. So let's jump into the video. Before we really jump into the current time frame, I do want to paint a picture. We have the bottom of the last bear market, and then we have the bottom of this bear market. So last bear market, this bear market. Keep in mind, this yellow line that you see on the screen is a long-term 786 retracement on Bitcoin, and similarly, long-term 786 retracement in the bear market from a few years ago, and Bitcoin continuing to really have such a synergistic move with the bear market that you see on the screen from a few years ago, and you can see it. So we had that final breakdown a few years ago, the first bottom of that bear market. We had an extreme pullback to the 50 EMA, and similarly, we have a similar move for Bitcoin, extreme overextension from the 200 EMA, and then a pullback to the 50 EMA, and then here's the bear market again. We got rejection at the 50 EMA, little consolidation. We've retested the 50 EMA. Let's go back to current time. We have rejection off the 50 EMA, little bit of consolidation, retesting the 50 EMA again as we speak right now. So we're kind of, in my opinion, right around at this type of the area of the last bear market. I want to throw this out there because I know there's a lot of haters that are going to comment on this video. Like, you can't just take data from the last bear market and say that Bitcoin is going to move exactly in that way. And going into this bottom, we have been tracking this bear market in context and in relation to the last bear market. And it has followed the path of Bitcoin so similarly. It has been insane. So going into this bottom, we were waiting for this overextension from the 200 EMA. We got it. And so I basically say I'm going to continue using this data in terms of technical analysis because it's proven so consistent and so true. So what does that mean for Bitcoin today? Let's take a look. So you can see we got that second rejection off the 50 EMA in that bear market, a little bit more consolidation. We finally broke above the 50 EMA. Am I saying we're definitely going to break above the 50 EMA, in the next week or two? No. However, it's a strong possibility in terms of Bitcoin forming its longer term bottom right now. So that's kind of what I wanted to start this video off with. Now, we can dig into the charts a little bit. We're on the daily. We've been talking about this, the inverse head and shoulders. The inverse head and shoulders you see on the screen, many people are tracking, has a downward sloping neckline. So in context to inverse head and shoulders, that's not as bullish. We want at least an exact horizontal or upward sloping neckline, and we don't have that in this pattern forming. So 70% of the time when there's a downward sloping, there's rejection. There's rejection at the neckline, and there's failure to confirm an inverse head and shoulders. So it's very likely that Bitcoin sees rejection, and right at that neckline is that 50 EMA we need to cross. Now, it's something we obviously have to wait and see what happens, but in terms of chances, historically, 70% of the time, maybe a little less than 70% of the time, a downward sloping neckline will prove failure. So if we zoom in on these charts, like what's actually going on? So we have this 4-hour chart. We had the breakout in the symmetrical triangle that we were tracking. We have not hit the symmetrical triangle targets, that 40, a little bit over $4,200. We haven't hit that target. And you can see Bitcoin slowed down right around 4,000. Right now, just at $4,000. And I'm wondering if Bitcoin is going to stay above $4,000 in its current short-term consolidation. So here's what I have. I don't do this all the time, but I wanted to look at what was going on the hourly because I think it helps tell the story. So Bitcoin broke out of this symmetrical triangle, right? We saw, first off, if you go to the daily, we have seen the resistance at the 50 EMA. That's a daily chart. Here's the hourly. So here's that symmetrical triangle we broke through. And our target area is up here for the breakout out of that triangle. And on the hourly, we've had some, short-term resistance. So we have two things happening. we have very short-term descending triangles kind of that have formed. So we have this first smaller one right here. We got a break to the downside. We hit our target for that. And now we have this, it's almost the same size descending triangle. These are bearish formations. And so what I'm anticipating mostly right now, what I really want to see and what I want to keep an eye out on is if Bitcoin breaks this descending triangle as well to the downside, our target is around $3,800, a little over $3,800. So if we go back to the 4-hour, where does $3,800 take us? It takes us right below and in the middle of the 200 EMA right there and the 50 EMA and the upper trend line of this symmetrical triangle, which is so often true that Bitcoin will revisit a pattern, the upper trend line, to test for support. So it would be very normal and very healthy if Bitcoin does actually break to $3,800. I know it's below 4,000, and we all want to see Bitcoin stay above 4,000 now that it's there. However, a revisit to 3,800, the top of the symmetrical triangle, not a bad thing. Could be bullish if we get a bounce, and then we actually kind of rise to hit this targets and also rise simultaneously to break the neckline in this longer term inverse head and shoulders above $4,200. So that's what I'm looking at on the upside. On the downside, if all of that fails, Bitcoin, this is the hourly once again, Bitcoin could truly, break this trend line if we don't see support and start retesting the bottom of the symmetrical triangle. And it's just something we have to just wait for and anticipate that it could happen, because it could, and time will tell. One thing I do want to just point out, if you look at the MACD, again, in synergy with that last bear market, here it is. This was the first bottom. Look at the MACD, that upward momentum out of the bottom. In relation to this rising wedge on the RSI, we're looking at momentum oscillators now. You see a lot of similarities. If we go to where we are now, rising wedge on the RSI, momentum oscillator. We have this rising momentum on the MACD, almost above the zero on the histogram. So things are at a very interesting point in terms of, will the consistency of charts hold up in comparison to the last bear market? So it's what I'm watching. What can I say? Wanted to share it with you. Let me know your thoughts. You might think I'm crazy, but I like it. I like the historical data we have. Let me know if you think we're going to break these resistance areas, break above that 50 EMA. Curious of your thoughts. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I would love to have you as part of the channel. I will see you all in the next video. Have an awesome day, and God bless.